This is For Advisors by Advisors. I'm your host, Evan J. Mayer, and today we have a very special guest in Miss Jackie Wilke. How you doing, Jackie?
Thank you, Evan. I love that intro. I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm awesome. Jack, I've known online now for a while. We actually our first time speaking, so pleasure to meet you.
You too.
She's an advisor consultant for First Trust. She's been at First Trust for now 11 years and in the advisory consultant role for over half that time. And her boss is Chris Jeppesen, who we had on the show, about a month ago, I'd say.
Yep. Everyone's got to catch his episode. It was awesome.
Yeah. Chris was phenomenal and added a ton of value. And somebody had contacted us. I think it was Kelly had contacted us and said, you guys should speak. And we said, let's do it. And we both were fired up for it. So welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be a part of it. I've been catching up, prepping for our conversation, and to all the listeners. This is a phenomenal podcast. So thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
For sure. So tell us a little bit about your history, how you got started in the business, kind of what your role is in First Trust, what you do there.
Okay. So my story, I never thought that I would be here in this industry doing this. It's kind of funny how you make plans and then God in the universe actually shows you what's going to happen with your life. So growing up, my mom actually worked at Nuveen for many years. And part of that time was marketing and in practice management. So I've known about this side, practice management, business development, client engagement, marketing, all that good stuff, pretty much my entire life. This is what she did for a lot of years. So I knew what this was. When I went to college, didn't really know what I wanted to do. And one of the things I did every summer was I worked at Nordstrom. I'm from the Chicago suburbs. I live in Chicago now. So Nordstrom was a great job. We actually worked on commission. So it was my first sales job. And retail's not an easy industry. You learn a lot and you learn some great skills early in life that you carry forward. And I thought I wanted to go into the fashion industry, but didn't want to leave Chicago, and it's not really much of an industry here in Chicago like it is in New York or LA. So when I graduated college, my parents said, take a look at First Trust. A lot of our friends, our community from the town that I grew up and worked there, I knew it was a phenomenal company, had an incredible reputation. And now that I had this sales experience, I loved sales. I interviewed for an internal wholesaler position. I sold unit investment trusts in Alabama, Florida Panhandle for a long while, and then realized that I was gravitating back towards practice management, business development. I love this side of the business, and it's what I do now at First Trust. I love helping advisors work on the business, taking a look at what opportunities there are to go after, taking a look at the landscape of the industry. What are we missing? How can we overcome obstacles? So that's been my role for a long time now at First Trust. I'm a consultant to individuals and teams across the country, across life phases of the business, across business cycles. What I get to do is essentially study success. And what we as a firm at First Trust and what Chris Jeppesen, the head of our team, realized many years ago is, wow, this is a huge value add that we can bring to professionals. Perspective, insight, helping them take processes so they don't have to reinvent the wheel and apply them to their businesses. So a lot of what I focus on is women investors, multi-generational families, and next gen, not just next gen investors, but the next generation of our business. So next gen advisors, the next generation of value, how are things evolving? So it's great. I get to travel the country. I do a lot of speaking.
Are you segmented out like in specific regions, or how does that work? Let's just say there's a wholesaler in North Dakota and he's meeting with an advisor and they're talking about practice management, and First Trust offers that as a service for advisors that they work with, and they call up advisory consulting. And do you cover a specific area, or how are you chosen for that situation?
Great question. We are not geographically segmented. We are more expertise segment. And I say we because Chris, you had on the podcast about a month ago, but there's me and then we have 4 other team members. So 6 in total, and everyone has a different area of focus, so that when an individual, a team, a firm comes to us and they're like, this is where our pain point is, this is keeping us up at night, or this is where we want to spend our time and our resources, whoever we pair you with is someone who can actually help you with some expertise in that area.
And so is it up to the wholesaler to go, this is the specific type of client, the next gen, the woman type of investor that this advisor is looking to segment? Let's call Jackie, she's the one for that. Or do they call your team and speak it out and kind of make that decision? How does that inner workings go?
Goes both ways. We're very open architecture. So if I'm coaching advisors and in 10 coaching calls, I'm hearing from all the advisors that like, gosh, what we really need help with is how do we how do we work our narrative in a way? How do we evaluate our content? That's something we're going to spend more time building out programs and resources on. So, like, one of the things we do is if I travel in a territory, usually the first time it's a presentation. So, everyone gets an idea of who I am, what I do, what I focus on, and then it's who needs what from there. So, that's where the coaching consulting comes in. But one of the resources that we have that comes out weekly is a team blog. It's called Insights Innovations, goes out to about 10,000 folks every week with a quick idea. Because just like you see with how you engage your clients, there's no shortage of ideas. And because we spend time doing this all day, every day, like I mentioned to you, I had a business planning meeting with a team in Chicago this morning. Gosh, I could fill a notebook with just the things we captured in an hour and a half. So we always try to keep content flowing, keep ideas coming to the field. Got it.
Fantastic. I was at a practice management workshop, and I would say for advisors that have already hit a pinnacle, and for me, when I say hit a pinnacle, there's a spot in the business that you hit where you're just grooving and things are good. And then you hit the lull. And when I say you hit the lull, you hit the spot of, I want to do something now a little bit more creative because everything is good, but I don't know, it's the same old boring stuff. And I want to add something new. It's the reason I created the podcast was I was looking for things to do that were interesting to me. And one of the things was interviewing people like yourself. So I was at a meeting and one of the speakers was talking about, and again, when you go to these meetings, you might grab only one or two or three pieces of valuable information. And of course, grab this, which I thought was interesting, which is when you walk into an advisor's office, what's the smell like? What, does it have the same smell so that when they come in, that smell of fear or money? And somebody said, why don't you put one of those essential
Your money.
yeah. And somebody said, why don't you put one of the essential oil like machines in your office so that when clients come in, they're kind of relaxed, like they're walking into a day spa, like it's very calming. And so we started to implement that a week ago, and then maybe 2 weeks ago. And then yesterday I saw a post from you on LinkedIn that was interesting because there was advisors going back and forth with if it was a good idea or not. And I don't know if you remember your post, but it said your name and the time you were coming in, and it was inviting on the screen. And I thought I was, by the way, I was laying in bed. This was 2 days ago. I had food poisoning, and I got nothing, I'm watching TV and checking my LinkedIn. And I go on there and you have this post, and you could either put their name up there or you could put their favorite TV show up there or their favorite movie. And I thought that was really cool and insightful, and almost like you thought about them when they walked in. And I said, this is something we need to implement. Talk a little bit about that idea. Did you create that idea? And what's the thought behind that? And what's the reactions been to advisors that have already utilized it, if any?
So the great thing about my ideas is that none of them are my ideas. They're all something that I've seen work for an individual and team. And the beauty of this industry, the environment that we're in, you can build whatever business you want, whatever you define as success, however you want to drive desired outcomes. And everything works if you work it. I think consistency is more important than anything. And like you, I like to work with individuals and teams who are innovative. They like to keep it fresh. They don't want to get stale. And that's important for your client experience. I think much of life is that Maya Angelou quote that people forget exactly what you said, exactly what you did, but they won't forget how you made them feel. So what I've noticed, especially with this world that we're in after the pandemic, some preferences have changed. Some advisors have decided to go totally virtual. We will go see our clients for maybe dinner or something, but no meetings are virtual. Others are really excited to get back into the office. But what they realized is if we're going to go back in, we have to make it better. There's an opportunity, so much of the little things add up to your overall brand, to your overall client experience, or even prospects. If they've worked with previous financial professionals and every time they walk in, it's a stuffy office that hasn't been updated. I mean, there's a reason that when people want to go to sell a house, they update it, they stage it. So your office is an extension of you, an extension of your brand. So like you pointed out, I love a couple of people have put names up there. Welcome, Julie and John Smith. Some will find out their favorite TV show. You like baseball, you like HGTV, you like Food Network. So the minute that someone walks in, they feel special. And it's another way that you can show them how well you know them.
And I think you ended up, somebody had commented back, like, of course we know who's coming in. Doesn't that look silly? And I thought, I always like when somebody puts a comment on there and it's a deconstructive comment without a constructive afterthought, meaning that the concept was, that's a bad idea. Maybe it's not a bad idea. Maybe it shows that you care that they're coming in and that you actually focused, welcoming them to you. It doesn't have to be looked at. And what works for one advisor doesn't have to necessarily work for all. So don't do it if you didn't find the value in it.
Yeah. And again, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. How your process works, how you build your watch. Unless you can tell me how that watch is going to make my life better, help me achieve a goal or overcome an obstacle, why would I buy your watch? Just because I know it works, great. Every watch should work at some level.
By the way, where did you steal that quote? Because I wrote that down. I liked it. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
That's a great question.
It's great. It's a great quote. Doesn't matter, right?
We should probably Google it. Google it to whoever did come up with that quote. Thank you.
Yeah, kudos.
I'm giving you all the credit. That's not my quote. But think about it. When your clients come in, if the market's on TV, and this is why teams shifted it, because they wanted to shift their value and the focus not to the performance of the portfolio, not to the market. If your client walks in and all they're seeing, even if they're waiting in your lobby for 2 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever it is, if all they see is red and they see just those headlines that they're always getting bombarded with, oof, now you want to sit down and talk about their portfolio. It's not placing value in the right place. We want them to know that the reason you work with us is because we are going to do everything that you don't want to do. We're going to define your goals, help you get there. And that puts the focus back on the right things.
I see that. I heard that Stephanie Bogan, who's another practice consultant.
She's awesome.
Yeah, I was listening to her in Austin, and she was big into your clients already know you're watching CNBC, so why do you have it on? I think it depends on each client specifically, and the concept of you don't need to be showing negativity to a client that's coming in to talk to you about stuff that you should already know going on. So why not show something like travel or something where the client is feeling that you're involved in their needs, wants, and wishes, and not necessarily just how their money's performing on that day.
It's another opportunity to customize. The more we can customize, the more it elevates the experience. Coffee orders, that's another one. People will find out what your favorite coffee order is. So when clients come in, you have a half calf latte, you've got a cold brew, just another way you can show them we're always listening. You're always someone that we're thinking of.
Do you guys have anything on a marketing standpoint that you found very helpful on a questionnaire type basis that you could send to clients that gathers a little bit of this information, but doesn't seem like you're just gathering information?
Yes. I thought this was kind of unique. And again, everything works if you work it. These are ideas that work for someone else. Take it or leave it. So I love this. I was talking to a team there in Connecticut. And one of the things they started to do is when clients are in there waiting, they put this document in front of them. It's almost like that intake form that you do at a doctor's office, but they ask them other questions like pets' names. What are your hobbies? What philanthropies and charities are most important to you? Who is most important to you? Maybe capture some beneficiary information. I have a copy of it. I'll send it to you after so you can take a look at it. But they just put it right there. And if they already have things that they know are filled in, they'll ask them, hey, last time you came in, these were the charities that were most important to you and philanthropies. That's a part of the planning process. Has that changed?
Yeah, that'd be great. I'd love to see the piece and be happy to share it out to the audience as well. We do a little cookie thing at the end of every year, and we send them to clients. They're little cookie jars, and these little tiny cookies are called NAMS cookies, and I don't think you can buy them anywhere anyway. But when you eat one, you got to eat 15 of them, and then by the third night, you're like 300 pounds. And we send them to clients, and they love them, and they get addicted to them, and so every year they're waiting for them. The cool thing, I always talked about points of contact with clients and how important it was to just get your face, your name, your likeness in front of them in some capacity multiple times. And we used to have this 84 points of contact where it was a weekly newsletter, a birthday call, the quarterly meetings, the birthday call, the cookies, whatever it was. The point was to get you in front of them as much as possible so that every time they were with a friend, family member, or somebody, they were like, oh, yeah, I just got this from my advisor. I just talked to my advisor, constantly bringing up the fact that you're their advisor. Now, you're working a lot with next gen clients, right? Most of my clients are not next gen at this point, part of what I'm doing with my clients is as they come in, I'm reviewing beneficiary information. And if those beneficiaries are not clients I already know, I'm asking them for an appointment with those beneficiaries so that God forbid anything happens with those clients, that they know who I am, they have a face to the name, they can communicate. And specifically, if they have trusts, whoever their trustee is, I love the opportunity to meet with them. And I'm getting very good responses and meetings set up doing that. And that's been very helpful to get into that next gen. But on a marketing standpoint, on other things that I'm not doing, what are some cool ideas? What are some cool tips that you could give to the audience of advisors out there that are interested in getting into those next gen marketing mindsets?
So, a couple things there to unpack. First thing is what you're doing that's most important. You are engaging these next gens ahead of any wealth transfer. I use the example, imagine you, me, anyone who's listening, you're in your late 60s and your parents pass away and you are dealing with grief, an estate, the lot, like your life has totally changed. And then you get a phone call. Hi, we were your parents, financial professionals. This is who we are, what we do, how we do it, when we do it. Your parents were clients of ours for 20 years. We're heartbroken. We're so sorry about your loss. We'd love to meet. What does that actually translate to most of the time? Oh, hey, we care about you now that you have the money. And if at that point I'm in my late 60s, one or two things is going to happen when I receive my inheritance. One, I already have an advisor because I've built my own wealth, so the wealth will go to them. Or two, I've been waiting for this money, so I'm going to cut the check and run.
Yep.
So, proactivity, so important. And also offering something. I think about the environment that we are in. In the palm of our hands, we can get access to the market, we can get access to the internet and social platforms and people and experts. I'm using air quotes for anyone not watching. So today's investor has more options than ever before. DIY, robo platform, hybrid solution, financial professional. So the problem there is even though we have more opportunities, we don't know what we don't know. So when you come in as the financial professional, offering time, expertise, just someone for them to talk to, even if they feel like they don't know what they don't know, that's huge. I didn't know where to turn to, or I thought I had a financial professional, but it's not the best relationship. So being proactive, actually giving something. People know when you're trying to sell them something. They know when something's it for you. No strings attached. One of the processes that I do most of my coaching on, it's called the family phone call. So it was developed by a team in California where they wanted to meet the people most important to their clients in a scalable process. So the family phone call is 10 minutes, short and sweet. You're introducing yourself. Clients are on the call, you're on the call, and the people most important to them are on the call. So this is another layer to it where, however your clients define family, those beneficiaries, maybe your clients never had kids. So the beneficiary might be the person who heads up a philanthropy that's important or a charity that's important to them. Beneficiaries might be their nieces and nephews. Or if you have younger next gen investors, could be their siblings, maybe their parents. Let's go up the family tree. So you're on the call, they're on the call, whoever's most important to them is on the call. Then you get that opportunity where you can just say, hey, if you need me, I'm here for you. We don't ever have to talk again. If you never need me, that's cool. If you do, second opinion sounding board, the offer that they then give is a 20-minute ask anything session.
The defined time thing. So I've always looked at it when advisors said, I'm not going to do a client's financial plan until I have their money. I always find that funny. I always find the concept of time management funny because there's always time. I don't understand. I manage a few $100 million. I have time for new clients. I don't understand the non-time aspect. So, but you may have said something that triggered a need to say that, which is, do those beneficiary calls, do those go a lot better if there is, hey, this 20 minutes is for you. You actually define that time. Does that tend to work a lot better?
Yes, because everyone knows what they're giving. If they just have one, we are very protective of our time. And I think almost more so after the pandemic, because we're in an attention economy. Everyone is trying to get access to our time. Most financial professionals that I work with, they want to refocus their time to actually make sure they're living their life again. So if that's everyone, and that includes clients, next gens, their family members, 20 minutes just sets expectations. They know they're not sitting down for potentially 5 hours. It's not a 2 hour family meeting, 20 minutes to go over exactly what's on your mind. That's where it's the give, not the ask.
Got it. Makes perfect sense. So something else I saw you do, you had this pie idea. It reminded me of the cookie idea. I probably should have asked you when we were talking about the cookie idea, but tell us about the pies.
So I always have a ton of ideas for client engagement, marketing, and the little things that you often do, like you were talking about, you do the cookies, it's subliminal marketing. So it's something that when clients, prospects, even your centers of influence, when they get it, they're like, oh my gosh, I was not expecting it. I also didn't coin this term, but it's that surprise and delight. Wasn't expecting it. It has nothing to do with the money side of things or what you do for them as a financial professional. It's relationships, and they feel really special. And those are often the things that they'll talk about, either with you, like you said, if your clients didn't get the cookies, they would probably leave. They're going to go find another financial professional. And it's the things that they talk about all the time. So one that has been coming up more and more every year is pies at Thanksgiving. And it's interesting. That's why I like to put ideas out on multiple platforms, the blog, the things we do in person, the presentations, the coaching, and then LinkedIn. And there's been a couple of teams who saw the pie idea, took it and ran with it. And it's so simple, and it's a pie. What it costs, like $30 a client. The feedback, the response they get from clients, it's incredible. And one story on that from this year, a team that I work with in California, they did the pies at Thanksgiving. This year, they decided to give clients an option. So it was a call campaign. So great proactive communication with our clients, always important. And so they said, hey, we're doing pies at Thanksgiving. What do you want? You want pumpkin, apple, or French silk? Were there three options? So clients got to decide. And I kid you not, about 3 days later, one of their clients called back and she said, hey, my husband and I were talking about this, and we'd like apple, please. Thank you. But also, we're going to move $3 million over. We just got to talking and we realized we never hear from other financial professionals. And it's easier for us if we have one individual, one team that we work with. So just so you know, 3 million is going to be coming over.
And I'm guessing that covered the cost of the pies for everybody.
A little bit, maybe.
It's funny you say it too, because I don't do a lot of packaged products anymore. And I know you work for a company that does, right? So I don't get the wholesaler support that I once got from all the different companies, right? So back when I started in this career, I was working with so many companies that would get all these pies and all these cakes and all these cookies. And I was like, this is great, but you just got so much of it that it wasn't that flattering. And what we don't realize as advisors is that clients are not getting these. Clients are not seeing these. Clients are not working and getting cookies and pies. So when they get something, the rarity that they got pie or a cookie compared to the picture of the person with their kids, right? Because we always get those pictures of everybody with their kids. I always laugh at that with my wife because we're like the only family that doesn't do it. I'm like, do we need to do this? Do we need to get on that card and send our kids to everybody? But we don't end up doing it. And no offense to anybody that does it out there. But that is such a special, unique thing that clients are not receiving, that is so simple because we've been getting it for years from wholesalers. Why are we not doing it for our clients?
Yeah. And it's the small things that come. It's the educational seminars that you're doing. It's events that you're having, whether they're in person or virtual. Think about the weight that carries. So for example, we have a team in Chicago, speaking of next gen, they found out their daughters and spouses were coming into town for the holidays. So they are going to do a cooking class at Sur La Table. Clients, 3 daughters, their spouses. Perfect opportunity to do this for the right people. And what's interesting is already their clients have said certain things like, oh my gosh, I was talking to my friends and we told them, yeah, in a couple of weeks, we can't do anything on Thursday. We can't come to your party. We're going to Sur La Table. Oh, are you going to Sur La Table with? Oh, with our team in Chicago. Yeah, our financial professionals. And the thing is, still to this day, one of the number one reasons that individuals leave their financial professional is a communication breakdown. I was not hearing from you proactively enough. And if I did, it wasn't meaningful. I don't think you know the first thing about me. You don't know what channel I want on when I'm sitting in your office. So when someone else hears that, you might not have intended it, but they are reevaluating their situation. And in this environment, uncertainty, volatility, both in the market and the economy, people are reevaluating.
It's subliminal marketing, as you said, and it's just finding a way to get yourself constantly on the speaking point of your client. And it's that simple. It's investing in your brand a little bit so that your client, but really investing in your relationship with your client and deepening those. So it's a two-win situation because you're deepening the relationship and you're having a talking point. We did a client event in November, which we had two comedians, an impressionist and a comedian, and a scotch tasting along with the dinner.
That
And
is awesome. I've never heard of that.
it was so cool. And we had this guy and he was coming on. It was right after politics. So he did a little Trump, he did a little Biden, he did a little Obama. He kind of switched it all up and he made it fun and he didn't make it, bad. And then the comedian came on, did a great time. And we had the scotch tasting prior to that. And my whole point of going up there was, look, we've been through a lot. You guys have sat there, watched the news. I don't need to tell you that the markets are down. I don't need to tell you that a recession looks inevitable. I don't need to tell you that everything is bad. We talk in our meetings. Tonight is for you. Tonight is for you guys to enjoy something, learn a little bit from the scotch tasting, have a little bit of fun, meet some people cool at your table, have a great dinner, and do something that you didn't experience. And the feedback that we got from clients, and I've done this in years past where we would get, a couple speakers to come up and they would go up and talk. And you never know who you're going to get as a speaker. You hear they're good and you're not sure. But that, I think we gained tremendous more traction doing that than we ever would have by just doing a regular client education dinner with the public speaker, Dr. Bob Johnson.
Yeah. And I think it's good to have a balance of both, but you're always educating. Well, I know because I see your stuff on LinkedIn, but also what I define as elite future focused, the teams and individuals who are growing, they're educators. They're not selling anything. So they're always educating, but where are relationships usually developed? It's those fun things. It's when they get the pie, it's when they attend the event. And that's going back to what we were talking about before. That's a great way to get to know their family. Hey, we're doing this big event. Come on, bring the whole family. Oh, not everyone can attend. Then let's do something just for your family when everyone's, I know you're down in Florida, which is where so many of the folks from Chicago area where I live are now down there. And so when their kids come to visit for Christmas, for New Year's, for Thanksgiving, great. When they're in town, let's go check out that new restaurant.
It makes sense. You got to go somewhere. You put something on LinkedIn that is so important to me. I like to say that financial planners are the quarterback relationship. It used to be, and by all accounts, they were, because brokers sold product to receive commission. That's what brokers did 25 years ago. Financial planning, there wasn't really you could spend $5,000 and get a nice big booklet and then the client get lost in it and never really look at it. But today, we are planners. We have to be planners to our clients. And if we're not planners to our clients, we at least have to be the primary relationship quarterback to the client. And you put something out that says your clients see you as their person, their relationship. And I love that quote. Their first phone call, the person or team who helps to maximize their life, they value your advice. You're their person. I got to figure out a way to market that because I did like that line, you're their person. It was in a movie as well. I don't remember the movie it was in, but it is so impactful that we as advisors are them. And it's all the little things that we do that put us together. Share a few other ideas, cool little concepts or ideas that you've done with other advisors that they found tremendous value in that are just little things that they could do, nothing too major.
So one thing I will say before we go into that, to fortify that clients always know everything you can offer them. What I see a lot of individuals and teams doing who are more relationship and planning focused, once a year, they send to their existing clients all services, all solutions, all products, everything that they have. The reason that they've started doing it is they realize, okay, the clients we brought in 10 years ago, they didn't need long-term care insurance. Now they're getting older or their parents are getting older. The last thing we want to happen is they see an invitation for a webinar on long-term care planning and they get it from someone else simply because they forgot that we also do it. So as we focus on relationships and planning, we always want to remind our clients everything we can do for them in case there's a keyword, a buzzword, something that person at that cocktail party brought out to them. What is your retirement income plan? I don't know. Do I know it's a retirement? So that's one thing I will say is as we focus more on human to human and relationships, make sure clients always know what you. I thought this was pretty cool. So a team in California, when they're marketing themselves, whether it's with existing clients on their website, they're talking to prospects, and people ask, okay, what is it that you do? We're wealth advisors. And at first beat, you're like, okay, yeah, you and everyone else, right? But they say, no, we advise our clients on total wealth, whether we're the strategic facilitator, the decision maker, the sounding board, or just that first phone call. The way that we define wealth is with this acronym. We believe that what helps you live a rich life is made up of the wisdom, the exchanges, the affluence, the legacy, the time, the health. So they turned wealth into an acronym. So as part of their process, to make sure they have the data that they need to deliver those customized touch points, like your favorite coffee order, or they know that you're taking the trip to Italy this year, so they want to check in 3 months after, see how that went. They have their clients update their wealth document. So it's one of those things that when you're either first thing in the meeting or they send it to clients who don't come in for meetings, it's their way of capturing the nuggets of information to show clients how well they know. That's from another woman on LinkedIn, showing them how well we know them. That's where those relationships are built. That's what we want our clients to focus on and tie our value to. So for example, the health category, find out a client's training for a triathlon. Great. You don't need to have an incredible over-the-top gesture to deliver customization. Call them up out of the blue. Hey, I was thinking of you. How's training going? That is such an incredible feat. Are you running for charity? Anything we can help support? And just those little things add up to this amazing experience that not only is something your clients will talk about and feel really special, but they're going to stick around.
Well, let's be honest. Everything is about building a relationship. At the end of these podcasts, I always like to ask this question. It's the famous end question here, but you're sitting there with your friends in Chicago and you're listening to this podcast. And there was a point or two that I really wanted to get across. Evan maybe didn't get to it. What's a good thought or two or some good piece of advice or anything that would be positive for our community?
Stop trying to be all things to all people. I know it can be hard, especially if you're building a business or you've built a business. Be very clear on who you are all things for, because it not only is better for clients and prospects, but it's better for the financial professional. We did a mastermind in Long Island a couple weeks ago, just brought together like 10 of the individuals and teams we work with. We talked about what are you focused on for next year. 4 of them said, working with the people I enjoy working with. So as much as we're talking about client engagement, prospecting, growing, it also has to be a business that works for you, for your team, for your life. So take some time at the end of this year into early 2023, whenever folks mid-year, you get a chance, just stop, check in. Are you all things to the right people? And what do those people look like? Not just the quantitative of they need these services, they have X amount in investable assets, they have complex equity compensation structures, but also who are these people? The relationship has to go both ways. I would say that's one of the biggest ones going forward.
Huge, Jackie. Phenomenal. First of all, thank you so much for coming on. First Trust does an amazing job of hiring talent. Everybody that I've dealt with down here, from Mike Lydon and Sean Moriarty, your whole crew, Chris, and then obviously like Jim Bowden and Brian Westbury. I always got to ask this question. Do you ever have to speak right after Brian and Jim do?
Yeah. Yeah.
What's that like when Jim comes up and then Brian comes up and then you have to speak? I mean, you're great. There's a little bit of an audience there that like they got to hear Jim talk about, how special financial advisors are. Do you ever walk up there and you're like, oh man, I got to follow Jim or Brian? Or do you check that agenda and be like, who am I after today?
Yeah. I always joke with our event planners. I'm like, what did I do to you? What did I do to you to get this spot? And I will say for anyone listening, if you're not familiar with First Trust, we cover the country. We're on the ETF, Unit Investment Trust, Structured Investment, Direct Indexing, and Alternatives now. So if you aren't familiar with us, just quick who we are. We're all in on the financial professional. So we don't advertise, we don't own stadiums. That's why myself, Chris, the resources team that I'm on for coaching, consulting, speaking, delivering these ideas, that's why we exist. So if you don't know us, we'd love to get to know you. If you do know us, thank you so much, because that's what we're here for. We're here to help.
Jack, how does anybody in the audience get a hold of you?
First Trust Wholesaler, great way to get a hold of us, whether it's myself, the rest of my team, anything you might need. We have wholesalers across the country. So chances are there's someone right in your backyard that's there to support you, meet you, be a part of what you're working on. LinkedIn's a great way. We have our First Trust website. And if anybody does want to get on our team's blog, just again, reach out on LinkedIn or talk to your First Trust Wholesaler. We'll get you added.
Fantastic. Jackie, thanks for coming on. For the audience out there, you can always get a hold of me. I'll get you set up with Jackie or anybody over there at First Trust. Phenomenal job, Jackie. You answered a lot of questions. You brought a lot of cool ideas and concepts. You brought something new for us to be thinking about, and your content is priceless. So keep doing what you're doing and keep crushing it. We appreciate it. And for the audience, hope you enjoyed today's podcast, and we'll see you on the next one. Thank you.
Thanks, Evan.